It's getting ridiculous. And what we need to be investing in is what is going to provide the next 30 years of self-sustaining job creation. Not all these temporary, we're going to make the politicians look good for about 2 years, get me my re-election. Oh, and then guess what? I'm term limited anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. What are you going to do? Yell at me? You'll yell at the next guy. And that's a real bad way that Florida likes to handle things, because it's the next guy's problem after 8 years. And that's how we've done a lot of things. And a real quick example is cigarette taxes. Don't think that they will give up that money that was raised on cigarette taxes in order to provide for Medicaid funding and the rest. A state gets a hold of extra fees, they rarely give them up. So tax increases are always a very slippery slope.
Do you support drilling in the Gulf, and under what conditions?
I'm a big fan of what I would say is American economic nationalism, and that runs the gambit. I'm completely opposed to outsourcing jobs. I'm opposed to insourcing immigrants to do jobs that we should be training our own children to do. I'm completely opposed to having to rely on foreign countries for energy, for ball bearings, rotor parts, rubber, all these things that we have the ability to either create synthetically or to just take out of the ground that we have here. The only difference now is that with shale oil taking place in the north, in Pennsylvania, North Dakota, there's a lot of competition and there's a real big head start. And I think that if I was to direct resources from the state that's losing quite a lot of money, another $2 billion deficit, even though I agree with drilling, I'd rather focus, as I said, on creating a better infrastructure system for manufacturing, create more manufacturing and industrial jobs, better training programs, rather than try to compete now with what appears to be, might be another 25-year oil boom. I think it would be very hard if we start now considering how long it takes. And deep water oil drilling is much harder than fracking, which is what's going on with shale. And it's much harder than simply going into a lot of oil rigs that exist, but now they have better technology to go down and over and then over. So it's harder to do deep water drilling, which is one of the reasons why Louisiana and Texas, they don't invest a lot anymore, or oil companies, I should say, don't invest a lot in deep water drilling, and they're all going for shale. So yes, I do agree with drilling. I do agree with as I said, an economic nationalistic platform where we produce all of our own products and we export to other countries, by the way, to get rid of this trade deficit. I just think at this point in time, monetarily, it would be a very, very difficult thing to compete with what's going on.
Okay. Florida is now a sanctuary state for illegals as compared to other surrounding states due to failure on immigration legislation in 2011 session. U.S. Supreme Court recently endorsed a separate Arizona law requiring employers to use E-Verify. The court also ruled that Arizona could suspend or revoke business licenses of companies that knowingly hire illegal immigrants. In tackling illegal immigration in the 2012 session, will you support mandatory E-Verify for all Florida employees from the first employee, enforcement at the street level by law officers, and enforcement in our schools? What is your stand on immigration fatigue?
Well, and again, as I had said earlier, illegal immigrants are crushing the state and the whole country in more ways than one. And so, yes, I completely support E-Verify. And a little thing, just as a side note, with all employees from number one on, there's a movement right now where they want to say, oh, well, don't go under 100 employees. Okay, well, if I give you 100 employees, don't go under 10.
Exactly.
Well, the trick there is that under 10 is one of the easiest ways to hide an illegal immigrant. So it is again, it's another one of these sleight of hand tricks that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and what I like to call the new indentured servant class of employers are very good at, which is trying to fix the numbers and let you know, oh, well, I mean, come on, these small businesses, that's a very easy way to hide underneath 10 employees. So yes, from employees, I also agree with going backwards. Not just starting from employees you hire from day one of E-Verify through, but going all the way back and checking all employees. It defeats the purpose to pass a bill that says, hey, in principle, we're going to deport illegal immigrants, or we want to remove them from the jobs, which, by the way, has nothing to do with being mean, which is, I love that response. Well, you're being mean. Well, they don't belong here. They don't exist. And by giving them any credit, any credence, and saying they're part of our workforce, it's simply making sure that we won't be able to get rid of them. So all they're doing is trying to convince people that, hey, they're doing things you won't do. As I said, illegal immigrants will work for cheap. They have absolutely no grievance commission to go to if you abuse them. Not even a simple grievance. You can't go to a court system. You can't go to the police. You can't do anything if your employer is abusing you. You don't know how much they're being paid. What, they're being paid $2 an hour and the employer's saying, I'm paying these guys $8 and they're making great money. How do you know? They can't tell us. They're not going to talk to us. They're depressing wages. And when you have a middle class family of 3, family of 4, family of 5, okay, and you're trying to work for a certain living in order to have a middle class lifestyle, let me tell you, it is much harder when there's 4 of you paying for the same bills that 20 people living in a room are paying for. It depresses wages and it crushes the entire jobs industry. And that is a very, very, very negative impact on this state. As I said, $5 billion we're spending on them. We have to remove them from society. I'm a full supporter of checking in school, checking police pulling them over, the whole 9 yards. Alabama, Arizona, go farther. We have got to remove them from the state.
And your last question? What would be the first action that you would take as a legislator?
Well, you know, I don't know exactly if I could answer that, considering that when I say what I want to do, it's not what I can guarantee you. And the reason is because you're sitting up there, which I had heard about 20 minutes before I spoke in here with the gentleman who was speaking. There's a lot of politicians up there who are not on our side that wear our same lettering. You know, they say they're Republicans. Well, I'm one of 120 in the state house if I get elected. And then you got 40 state senators. Then you got the governor's office. But then you got all these little worker bees behind the scenes, these lobbyists, these bureaucrats, these consultants, all these unions and all, well, pardon me, in the state of Florida are associations. You have all these people dumping a lot of money. So I look at it that if I have X amount of years to do my job, to pass these bills, I'm going to fight every single session and every single year to pass what I'm telling you I want to do. Can I guarantee it? No, but what I can guarantee is that I'm not going to stop fighting for it. And what I'd like to do is, if I say I want all illegal immigrants removed, and the bill that can be passed is, and let's say that's my first bill, and I say I want them all checked, and I want back checks too, and they say, no, we're only going to do 50 employees or above. Okay, let's pass that. Next year, next session. You know, it's working so great. We need an outgo for, again, same thing. You shoot all the way for gold. You go all the way. They say, we'll give you 25. All right, we'll pass that. Next session, you fight. Say, you know, we gotta do all these shit. I'll give you under 10 employees, but let's not check the backgrounds before anybody was hired, before this. All right, I'll take that. Then you go again. So what we have to do is exactly what the other side has been doing to us for 50 years. They didn't win overnight. They needled us down. Every session, it was one more thing. Oh, you want 10% taxes? We want 40? We'll give you 35. Oh, and that's how it works. They continue to whittle us down. What we need to do is fight back. It's very hard for me to say what bill I'd pass. I have so many good ones I'd like to. I want to remove illegal immigrants from the state. I want to make sure that we pass lowering our corporate income taxes for a certain amount of years for homegrown started manufacturing businesses and insurance companies, so that these insurance companies can cover at-risk beach communities, so that we can provide our own insurance rather than having to bring how many different corporations from out of state who don't care about our problems. One of the biggest things that we continue to do in Florida is say, I want to take everybody else's job. Well, I want to create jobs from here with people who live in the communities. So I don't have a first bill that I would try to pass, because I would try to see which is the best way to go forward first. And I'm a very practical conservative, where every day I fight, it's to fight for my principles, never let them go, but see how I can maneuver in and get those bills done.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?